the big lifesaver for me when
Yeah.
when starting new practice. This the sitting. First off was the knowing that yes, what you're going through is normal,
Yeah.
and the sitting, the balanced breath. Within
That's-
a week,
that's the big
just
one.
the biggest turnaround I had in 2 years in 1 week, just
Yeah.
doing your simple practices that
Yeah, that's the big one, the balanced
that
breath.
Bodhi and Sachi and Leela
And Leela,
had
yeah.
told me to do. Well, yeah, they were godsends. They
Yeah.
sent a lot of emails to me and pulled me out of the fryer.
And thank
of course
God, and
you
that's
too,
what
sure.
they should be doing with the new group as well. The students should be supporting each other. The ones that have been here a longer time, helping the new people here and give them the practices. And some of the people come in, they go, well, I just have to be aware of my breathing, and I've done that before, and I don't need to do that, and poo-poo it. But I'm telling people, this is the #1 foundational practice. And if you get that into place and you do it correctly, it can really start to bring some balance in. And like I said, if you're a vegetarian, please start eating something more grounding, because otherwise people are just out in the ozones and it's not going to help them at all. Not going to help them at all to be in the ozones.
Just come to the South. We'll feed you.
There you go. Oh, that indeed
You'll be
she
so
will.
grounded and dragging out of here.
Oh, Lord. But yeah, the balanced breath is the key #1 thing for people to start with. And then learning how to be in the moment without projecting and without, trying to rehash old stuff and trying to find another distraction and all of that. Then, once you start with balanced breath, then you have a place to keep coming back to as you sit with all this emotional upheaval that's going to come flying in your face, because one has to sit through it.
Because it's going to come up.
It is going to
It
come
is.
up. That's
One
part
way or
of,
another.
That's part of it. When Kundalini awakens, and that's what it is. It's like a flushing out the sewer system of all the old crap, and you got to get ready for it, because it is going to come to the surface. All the old fears you have, all this old nonsense, and all of this justifications or whatever it is that you've been carrying around, all this baggage is going to be there. Yeah, and one has to be willing to look at it, and start throwing this crap out. Yeah, that's all.
You mentioned Kundalini awakening.
Mm-hmm.
Just because a person has an interest in it and decides to dive into it with you, it seems to me that it really isn't up to me. I may do the practices and such, but if the larger me hasn't arrived at that state, then it won't happen. Is that about right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can't force a Kundalini awakening on somebody. I don't give things that are going to force it open, because, somebody's got to be ready for it. They got to be ready for that journey. Now, some people, like I said, they come in and they've done all these energetic practices, Reiki and all these other energetic things, and it's awakened it. But sometimes that's not, you wish that it hadn't been. But yeah, some people may not get a Kundalini awakening in this lifetime, which is fine. Which is fine. They may not be ready for it. Like I said, everything is not for every person.
But to say that I am not ready for it, this incarnation, that's not the same thing as to say that the larger me is or is not ready for that.
Well, there is no larger me.
Well,
But
you understand what I mean.
Yeah. But that larger so-called me, that self,
The real self.
the real self is not a persona. It's
No,
not.
but
It's
it
not,
is the one who's in charge of everything.
It's in charge of everything. But mostly Kundalini is in the transient. It's the Shakti. That's the motion. The larger, quote-unquote, me, that self, which is that ultimate perfection, which is always here. It's not separate, not something we need to find outside of ourselves. It's
Right.
not outside, it's always there. It's what gives us that life breath. That is always perfection as it is. And the transient Shakti is the transient flow, that motion. Okay, that's that motion. I mean, the ultimate self is always ready for anything. You know, it's that transient me, me that's not ready for things, you know, that's all. But the ultimate self is always perfection. It doesn't need to get anywhere.
So it is up to me, this incarnation, this.
To some degree, yeah. There has to be that desire. And a lot of people that Kundalini spontaneously awakens in, because they are looking for that depth. They are looking for that self.
And you
They
can feel
are-
it. You can feel it
Yeah.
in here. It's not the ego up here for
Right,
out there
right,
projection.
Right. It's that
what's
heart's
in
desire and heart's
deep
longing.
heart.
And when there's
Sometimes very profound for people
Yes.
at the beginning.
Yes, yeah. This is what happened with Siddhananda. She had that deep longing and wanted to know, you know, and if there's a really deep longing and wanting to know, sometimes again it will spontaneously awaken. Yeah. So the way it starts with many is that there's many different ways. Either they've gone through a lot of energetic modalities, or it can awaken due to being jarred. You could be in an accident and the system is just really jarred and gets that shock, and it just, you know, I guess a great adrenaline rush or whatever can cause a shock great enough to the system that it awakens it as well. That can happen as well. Yeah, I've heard of many, many different ways of it being awakened. Some
Even in
women in
childbirth.
childbirth, yeah, in childbirth too, that it can.
Wow.
For who, the baby or the mother?
The mother,
Oh, the mother.
for the mother. Yeah,
Baby's head was just a little too big.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, there's so many ways that it can, and I think it's happening more and more often now in this day and age.
Well, look how many people are on antidepressants in this country.
A lot.
That have the same symptoms and the same storylines and experiences that
Yeah.
we are. But in this culture, don't know.
Yeah, they don't
Just
know.
don't have a clue. Never heard of Kundalini. Like myself.
Yeah.
But I've always had that longing and been into searching for the big answer deep down. Never attached to a religion. Never attached to a man-created God like our religions
Right.
have.
Right.
But just a deep down longing, desire. Well, and a knowing. And I think for myself, that's how it has emerged through age 20, and then age 30, and then now age 40. And it's just gotten a little, each time, exponentially increased. And so by the time 40 came, it was, this is it for you, blammo.
Yeah.
And even though so much was so profound for me up here, deep down in here, it was the knowing of, okay, step back, I'm going to honor this and whatever the hell it is. And even though I said this is going to be the best time of my life, deep down I knew, oh no, it's not. It's going to be hell.
Yeah,
And
it's difficult.
it sure was. It sure
It
was.
is.
The deep,
It is.
dark depression hit, and the me projecting,